It is a comfortable lie that communication solves all problems. In reality, your words are exactly what they are using to destroy you. You know the exact scenario. You are sitting at your desk or looking at your phone, and it arrives. A passive-aggressive text from a friend, or a subtly condescending remark from a colleague during a meeting that makes the whole room pause. Instantly, your biology betrays you. Your heart rate spikes. A hot flush of adrenaline rushes to your face. You grab your phone, or you open your mouth, and you furiously begin drafting a 3-paragraph explanation to set the record straight. You want to enforce your boundaries. You want to prove them wrong. You hit send, or you deliver your rebuttal, completely convinced that you have just stood up for yourself. You haven't. You have just surrendered. We are conditioned from a very young age to believe that if we just explain ourselves clearly enough, the other person will finally understand. Mainstream culture and modern therapy speak have infected our collective mindset with a very dangerous assumption that every conflict is merely a misunderstanding waiting to be resolved through open dialogue. We are told to speak our truth, to communicate our feelings, and to articulate our boundaries. This is beautifully poetic advice if you are dealing with someone who genuinely respects you and wants mutual harmony. But the world is not solely populated by well-intentioned people. It is heavily populated by opportunistic players, Machiavellian strategists, and people who are deeply insecure and desperate for power. When you apply conventional self-help tactics to these individuals, you are not protecting yourself. You are handing them a loaded gun. Let us dissect the true anatomy of a provocation. When someone drops a veiled insult about your career choices, questions your intelligence, or intentionally misunderstands your motives, they are not initiating a debate. They are not looking for a logical resolution. They are running a diagnostic test on your nervous system. They are throwing out a psychological hook to see exactly how much leverage they have over your emotional state. The very moment you feel that burning need to justify your actions, you have already lost the exchange. Your ego screams at you to defend your honor, convincing you that if you stay silent, you will look weak. But true weakness is the inability to tolerate a false accusation. True weakness is needing a manipulator to validate your reality. Look closely at the mechanics of what happens when you start over-explaining. You use too many words. Your voice goes up half an octave. You provide a detailed itinerary of your thought process, laying out evidence as to why your choices are valid. In your mind, you are building an impenetrable fortress of logic. In their mind, they are watching you bleed. They do not care about the facts you are presenting. They only care about the undeniable reality that they possessed the power to make you scramble. The moment you explain, you step into their cage. You have officially agreed to play a game where they make the rules, and you desperately try to meet their criteria. You have signaled to them that their casual, throwaway judgment carries enough weight to completely derail your peace of mind. Consider the modern workplace a masterclass in subtle power dynamics. A manager or a rival peer makes a slight comment about the time you arrived at the office or the way you handled a client, masking it as a joke. If you immediately launch into a defensive monologue about the traffic, or the complexities of the account, or how hard you have been working lately, you have just handed over your power. You have shown them that your professional confidence is fragile enough to be shattered by a single sentence. or observe the dynamics of modern relationships and dating apps. A partner pulls away or makes a sudden, unreasonable demand. If your instinct is to send a wall of text dissecting the relationship, pleading for them to see your side, you are not communicating. You are begging. You are rewarding their bad behavior with your most valuable asset, your undivided attention and your emotional labor. This compulsive need to defend yourself is rooted in a deeply ingrained fear of being misunderstood. We harbor this childlike fantasy that if we can just show the other person the pure logic of our intentions, the conflict will evaporate. But you must wake up to the brutal reality of human nature. People who provoke you are committed to misunderstanding you. Their power depends on it. They rely on your frantic explanations because every word you speak gives them more ammunition. It gives them more data about your insecurities. If you tell them why you are hurt, you are handing them a map of your psychological landmines. You are explicitly instructing them on exactly where to strike the next time they want to destabilize you. By trying to protect your boundaries with words, you are actually leaving the gates to your mind wide open. To survive and dominate in a world of complex social games, you have to completely reprogram your biological response to being challenged. You must divorce yourself from the desperate need to be seen accurately by people who have no interest in your well-being. The top 1% of individuals who truly understand power dynamics operate on a completely different frequency. They view an unearned insult or a manipulative jab not as a threat that requires a defense, but as a trap that requires avoidance. They know that words are cheap, but silence is terrifying. When you refuse to participate in their game of justification, you starve them of the reaction they so desperately crave. To understand why your words are failing you, we must first expose the invisible hierarchy of every conversation, and why the person speaking the most is always the one losing. The reason the person speaking the most is always the one losing is because every interaction operates on an invisible, silent hierarchy of power. To see this structure clearly, you must understand the psychological asymmetry of the courtroom. Imagine you are sitting at a dinner table, perhaps being introduced to a partner's wealthy, established family for the first time, or maybe you are sitting in a boardroom with a hyper-competitive colleague who views you as a threat. The conversation is flowing, and then it happens. Someone looks at you from across the table, swirls the ice in their glass, and casually questions your career trajectory or your lifestyle. They drop a subtle, condescending remark about how your field is so unpredictable, how your choices are unconventional, or how they would simply be too stressed living your life. Instantly, the social trap springs shut. You feel the collective gaze of the room shift and lock onto you. What do you do in this exact moment? If you are like most people, you immediately launch into a desperate recitation of your resume. You start listing your recent accomplishments. You mention your 5-year plan. You talk about the hidden potential in your market, the freedom of your lifestyle, or how deeply fulfilled you are by your work. You speak a little too quickly. You smile a little too eagerly. In your mind, you think you are proving your worth. You believe you are commanding respect and demonstrating your competence. In reality, you are putting a target squarely on your own back and handing them the weapon. You are willingly walking into a psychological trap that was set specifically to measure your submission. Think about the physical and psychological setup of an actual judicial courtroom. Where does the true power reside in that room? It does not reside with the person making the loudest, most passionate argument. The judge sits elevated, perfectly still, leaning back and observing the chaos below. The judge does not explain themselves. The judge does not justify their presence or their authority. It is the defendant who stands at the podium, sweating, talking rapidly, presenting endless stacks of evidence, and desperately begging for their narrative to be accepted by the court. The fundamental dynamic of power in that room, and in every social interaction you will ever have, is entirely dictated by who is trying to convince whom. When someone casually attacks your character, questions your decisions, or throws a passive-aggressive comment into your orbit, their objective is not to learn more about you. They are not genuinely curious about your 5-year plan. Their sole objective is to force you into the position of the defendant. They want to see if you will scramble for evidence of your own worth to present to their high court. The moment you explain, you step into their cage. You are taking the stand. You are implicitly agreeing that they possess the jurisdiction to evaluate your life. You are handing them the judge's gavel and saying, "Please review my argument, weigh my evidence, and grant me my dignity." This is the devastating asymmetry of explanations. The person demanding the explanation assumes the posture of the authority, while the person providing the explanation instantly assumes the posture of the subordinate. It does not matter how brilliant your defense is. It does not matter if your logic is flawless, if your arguments are bulletproof, or if your achievements are objectively superior to theirs. The very act of submitting your life for their review drastically diminishes your status. You could have a net worth of $10 million and a genius-level intellect. But if you frantically try to prove it to a mediocre cynic at a dinner party, you have made yourself their absolute inferior. You have allowed their idle curiosity or petty jealousy to dictate your behavior and hijack your nervous system. The Machiavellian mind entirely refuses to enter the courtroom. A master of power dynamics understands that they do not owe anyone a defense of their existence, their choices, or their boundaries. When the condescending question comes, when the subtle sneer is directed at your life, the most lethal response is a complete and utter refusal to take the stand. Instead of offering an itinerary of your thought process, you offer a devastatingly blank slate. You look directly at them. You let an uncomfortable, heavy beat of silence stretch out just long enough to make the air in the room feel thick. You let them hear the awkward echo of their own question, and then you change the subject entirely. Or you simply offer a cold, polite smile and say nothing at all. This absolute refusal to participate in their game shatters their entire framework. They spent the time setting up the courtroom. They put on the judge's robes. They called your name to the stand, and you simply did not show up. This strategy denies them the authority they were trying to quietly steal from you. It communicates a message far more lethal than any clever comeback or rehearsed elevator pitch ever could. It silently states, "You do not possess the clearance level to audit my life, and your attempt to do so is completely irrelevant to my reality." It forces the attacker to sit there, awkwardly holding a gavel in an empty room, looking foolish in front of everyone. Think about the profound, revulsive clarity of this realization. Think of all the times you have unknowingly played the defendant in your own life. You have wasted hours, days, perhaps years of cumulative energy sweating at the podium, trying to convince people who do not matter that you are worthy of their respect. You have let manipulative colleagues, toxic family members, and insecure partners play judge and jury with your self-esteem. You have allowed them to put you on trial for simply existing outside of their narrow expectations. Let the nausea of that realization wash over you. It is a good pain. It is the death of your old, reactive, subordinate self. It is the shedding of the pathetic illusion that you need to be understood by the masses to be valid. When you permanently adopt the posture of the judge, your entire physical aura changes. People can instantly sense when they are interacting with someone who cannot be baited into a defense. They instinctively recognize the subtle, dangerous energy of a person who never over-explains. You become a psychological monolith. The neediness that once leaked from your defensive posture is replaced by a heavy, unshakable gravity. You no longer walk into a room hoping to prove yourself. You walk into a room entirely indifferent to their verdicts. But realizing you are in a courtroom isn't enough. To truly take back control, we must confront the uncomfortable truth about why these people keep targeting you in the first place. To truly reclaim your autonomy, you have to cross a deeply uncomfortable psychological threshold. You must be willing to analyze not just the behavior of your attacker, but your own role in the dynamic. It is very easy and very comforting to cast yourself as the perpetual victim of toxic people. You tell yourself that you just have bad luck, that the world is full of narcissists, and that you are constantly forced to deal with manipulative colleagues, needy friends, or an overbearing boss. But power dynamics are never an accident. The painful truth you must confront is that your recurring drama is not a string of bad luck. It is a market that you have created. It is an economy that you have been actively funding. Consider what happens when you finally decide you have had enough. You read an article or you watch a video, and you determine that you are going to set a new boundary. You decide that the next time your toxic ex texts you to pick a fight, or your micromanaging boss sends an unreasonable weekend email, you are going to pull back. You employ the silence. You refuse to engage. You wait for the magic to happen, expecting them to suddenly respect you and leave you alone. But that is rarely what occurs. Instead, the situation explodes. The ex calls you 12 times in a row, leaving unhinged voicemails. The boss sends increasingly aggressive follow-up emails, copying upper management. They do not respect the new boundary. They double down on the aggression. They escalate their behavior to a level that feels almost manic. This sudden escalation terrifies most people, and they quickly cave, returning to their old, defensive habits just to make the noise stop. This is the dagger turn. When you see this escalation, you are not witnessing their strength. You are witnessing the precise moment their addiction is exposed. You are watching a phenomenon known in behavioral psychology as the extinction burst. To understand this, you must look at how an animal is conditioned in a laboratory. A rat is placed in a cage with a small metal lever. The rat learns that every time it presses the lever, a food pellet drops into the tray. It presses the lever, it gets the pellet. Over and over, the behavior is reinforced. Then, the scientists turn off the machine. The rat presses the lever, but no food appears. The rat does not calmly accept this new reality and walk away. it experiences a frantic surge of panic. It presses the lever faster. It throws its body against the cage. It bites the metal. It escalates its behavior radically, throwing a desperate tantrum to force the reality it is accustomed to, before finally collapsing in exhaustion. The manipulators and energy vampires in your life operate on the exact same neurological circuitry. They are not hunting for logical resolutions or healthy communication. They are hunting for emotional currency. Every time they provoked you in the past and you reacted with anger, tears, or frantic explanations, you dropped a food pellet into their tray. You gave them a dopamine spike. You made them feel powerful because they realized they could reach into your brain and alter your emotional state with a few words. You were the supplier. You trained them to understand that pressing the lever of your insecurities always yielded a rich reward of attention and distress. When you suddenly go silent and refuse to explain yourself, you are not just setting a boundary, you are shutting down their food supply. The moment you explain, you step into their cage. But the moment you withhold your explanation, you trap them in their sudden escalation. The shouting, the 12 missed calls, the vicious accusations that you are being arrogant or cold, is simply the frantic panic of a rat whose food dispenser just broke. They are clawing at the lever, desperate to get the reaction they rely on to stabilize their own fragile ego. They are trying to force you to drop the pellet. Understanding the mechanics of the extinction burst gives you a chilling advantage. When you realize that their escalation is not an assertion of dominance, but a display of absolute starvation, your entire perspective shifts. You stop feeling threatened, and you start feeling a sense of cold, clinical control. You realize that your silence is working exactly as intended. The louder they get, the more desperate they become, the more obvious it is that you hold the power. You are watching them exhaust their energy reserves while you expend absolutely none. You are bankrupting their emotional economy by simply refusing to participate in it. This level of control requires a ruthless commitment to your own stillness. You must watch them unravel without stepping in to save them or to defend yourself. You must let them throw their tantrum against the reinforced concrete of your non-reaction. Do not interrupt them. Let them swing at empty air. Let them hear the unhinged sound of their own voice echoing back at them. The longer you sustain the silence, the more foolish they feel. Eventually, the extinction burst ends. The frantic energy burns out, and they collapse into a state of drained, unsettled emptiness. They learn, on a primal, subconscious level, that attacking you is a massive waste of their time and energy. Watching someone unravel in the face of your silence is intoxicating, but it is also an intense psychological endurance test. To maintain your grip during the storm of an extinction burst, you cannot simply grit your teeth and wait it out. You must change the fundamental way you process the words being weaponized against you. If you still secretly believe that their insults carry weight, you will eventually crack. But you cannot endure that escalation unless you fundamentally change how you process their words. To endure that escalation without cracking, you cannot simply grit your teeth. You must fundamentally change how you process the words being weaponized against you. The average person walks through the world believing that when someone hurls an insult, they are offering a profound, objective diagnosis of their character. If someone calls you selfish, You immediately inventory all the times you were generous. If someone calls you a failure, you scramble to present the receipts of your success. You treat their words as a legitimate indictment that requires a formal legal defense. But to the Machiavellian mind, an insult is never an observation. It is a psychological projection. It is a highly detailed, entirely unprompted confession of the attacker's deepest, most closely guarded insecurities, gift-wrapped and handed directly to you. Think of that specific friend in your social circle who is constantly making subtle, underhanded jabs about your ambition. They call you a try-hard. They tell you that you are taking things too seriously, that you need to relax. Or they visibly roll their eyes when you discuss your goals and your discipline. Or consider the relative at family gatherings who reliably finds a way to critique your physical appearance, your wardrobe, or your financial status under the thinly veiled guise of just being honest or trying to help. Your immediate biological instinct is to feel targeted. You feel a flash of defensive anger because you assume they are studying you, weighing your value, and finding you defective. But humans possess a profound lack of imagination when it comes to psychological warfare. We cannot attack others with concepts that we do not secretly fear ourselves. Every human psyche is burdened by an unacknowledged, repressed underbelly. This is the shadow self, the psychological basement where all of our cowardice, our failed potential, our envy, and our secret shame are buried in the dark. Most people will do absolutely anything to avoid looking into that basement. When the pressure of their own inadequacy becomes too much to bear, their fragile ego protects itself through projection. When that friend attacks your ambition, they are not diagnosing your work ethic. They are exposing their own paralyzing mediocrity. They are terrified of taking a risk, and your forward movement acts as a blinding, unforgiving spotlight on their stagnation. They need you to feel shame for your ambition, so that they do not have to feel shame for their cowardice when that relative criticizes your appearance or your life choices. They are actively haunted by their own fading youth, their own missed opportunities, or their profound lack of relevance. They are bleeding internally from their own unacknowledged wounds, and they are desperately trying to splatter that blood onto you so they do not have to look at it alone. You are not the target of their rage. You are simply the blank canvas for their unresolved trauma. When you finally see the mechanics of projection, the entire architecture of social conflict collapses. Anger becomes a mathematical impossibility. How can you possibly be furious at a confession? When you realize that their vitriol has absolutely nothing to do with your reality, you step entirely out of the firing line. You elevate yourself from a bruised participant in a petty squabble to an untouchable psychological sniper perched safely above the battlefield. You watch them operating their faulty machinery down below. You put on your clinical gloves and you coldly examine the psychological ammunition they just fired at you, entirely immune to its intended effects. You realize you are holding the exact blueprint of their deepest fears. The moment you explain, you step into their cage. If you defend your ambition to the stagnant friend or justify your lifestyle to the bitter relative, you are legitimizing their delusion. You are catching the heavy, toxic baggage they just threw at you and volunteering to carry it for them. You validate their projection, confirming that, yes, there is something wrong with you, And yes, you are willing to litigate it in their courtroom. But when you offer absolute non-reaction, you refuse to catch their baggage. You step aside and let their ugly, repressed shadow fall onto the floor between you, naked, awkward, and exposed for everyone to see. The next time someone attempts to belittle you, do not flinch, do not look away, and do not furiously prepare a counterattack in your mind. Look at them closely, study the tension in their jaw. Listen to the specific, revealing words they chose to use against you. Become utterly fascinated by their pathology. Shift your internal posture from defensive panic to cold, analytical curiosity. Look at them the exact same way a microbiologist examines a strange, aggressive strain of bacteria in a petri dish. You are close enough to observe the specimen, but you are safely separated by an impenetrable wall of glass. They will physically feel this shift in your energy. They will sense that they are no longer engaging in a mutual fight, but that they are being quietly studied. The thrill of their attack will evaporate, replaced by a sudden, creeping panic as they realize they have accidentally exposed themselves. They came to break you, and instead, you are silently dissecting them. You do not need to say a single word. Your steady, unbothered, analytical gaze is a devastating counterstrike. It silently communicates that you see exactly what is broken inside them, and you are entirely unwilling to help them fix it by playing their game. Once you stop hearing attacks and start hearing confessions, you are ready to deploy the most terrifying physical weapon in the Machiavellian arsenal. Transitioning from hearing attacks to hearing confessions prepares your mind, but to survive a direct face-to-face confrontation, you must train your body to deploy the most terrifying weapon in the Machiavellian arsenal: the architecture of the void. Imagine you are no longer dealing with a passive-aggressive text message or a subtle jab from across a crowded dinner table. You are in a closed room. The conflict is immediate, suffocating, and physical. A manager, a toxic partner, or a hostile rival is standing just a few feet away, and their voice is rising. They are leaning into your space, physically closing the distance, demanding an immediate answer to a highly manipulative question. They are attempting to physically intimidate you, using the sheer volume and velocity of their words to overwhelm your senses and force a rapid, sloppy reaction. In this exact moment, your primate brain is screaming at you to do something. You are suddenly flooded with a potent, intoxicating cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline. Your evolutionary programming dictates that you have only two viable options in the immediate presence of a predator. You must either fight back or you must run. In modern social dynamics, fighting looks like raising your own voice, rapidly interrupting them, and furiously throwing your own defensive logic back in their face. Fleeing looks like shrinking your posture, breaking eye contact, and rapidly apologizing or desperately agreeing with them just to make the terrifying tension stop. Both of these biological responses are utterly fatal to your power. The moment you explain, you step into their cage. But the moment you physically flinch, you hand them the lock and key. To execute the architecture of the void, you must consciously override thousands of years of human evolution. You must intentionally force your physical body into a state of deep, unnatural relaxation while under direct psychological fire. This is not about simply ignoring them or looking away nervously. That only signals submissive avoidance. This is about establishing a deliberate, aggressive, and heavy stillness. It is a physical demonstration that you do not perceive this screaming, threatening human being as a legitimate danger. You are treating a charging bull as if it were a minor, slightly annoying gust of wind. The first tactical movement is entirely internal. You must control your breath. When we are threatened, we instinctively take shallow, rapid breaths from the chest, which signals the sympathetic nervous system to prepare for imminent physical combat. Instead, draw a slow, deep breath through your nose, expanding your stomach rather than your chest. This specific physiological action hijacks your biology, instantly cutting off the adrenaline supply and slowing your rapidly beating heart. Simultaneously, you must ruthlessly release the tension in your face. When humans prepare for conflict, we instinctively clench our teeth, jut our chin forward, and tighten our neck muscles like armor. You must do the exact opposite. Drop your shoulders heavily. Let your jaw go entirely slack. By physically removing all the armor from your posture, you communicate an absolute, terrifying absence of fear. The most crucial element of this physical architecture is the gaze. You must maintain continuous eye contact, but you must completely drain it of all emotion. Do not glare at them. A glare is a reaction. A glare shows anger, and anger means they have successfully disturbed your peace and breached your perimeter. You want a flat, dead-eyed, analytical stare. To achieve this without absorbing their toxic, frantic energy, do not look directly into their pupils. Instead, focus your vision intensely on the bridge of their nose, right between their eyes. To the attacker, this creates the chilling illusion of piercing, unblinking eye contact, but it emotionally insulates your brain from the intensity of their rage. Once you have locked this gaze and dropped your physical tension, you execute the ultimate physical dominance display, the slow blink. When an animal is in a high-stress, dangerous environment, it does not blink. Its eyes remain wide open to process every micro-movement of the imminent threat. Blinking slowly is a primal, biological signal of supreme confidence and total environmental safety. When someone is screaming at you, spitting their venom and waiting for you to shatter, and you simply look at them and deliver one slow, measured, heavy blink, it completely destroys their reality. It tells their subconscious that you are so profoundly unbothered by their existence that their rage is practically putting you to sleep. You must maintain this devastating stillness for 3 to 5 full seconds after they finish speaking. Count the seconds in your head. In the middle of a screaming match, 3 seconds of dead air feels like an absolute eternity. You are creating a massive, uncomfortable vacuum. Without your panicked reaction to absorb their energy, their words simply hit the invisible wall of your apathy and drop onto the floor. Often, in those 3 agonizing seconds of silence, the attacker's nervous system will buckle. They cannot handle the void. They will backtrack. They will suddenly try to play their aggression off as a dark joke. They will break eye contact, physically shrink, and start nervously filling the air with useless filler words. If they do not break, and they foolishly stand there waiting for your counter-argument, you have 2 choices. You can physically turn your body away and dismiss them entirely from your reality, resuming exactly what you were doing before they arrived. Or, if the situation absolutely requires a response, you speak in a voice so low, slow, and devoid of emotion that it sounds like you are reading a weather report. You simply ask, "Are you finished?" No anger, no sarcasm. just a flat, lethal inquiry. The thrill of holding this lethal power without moving a single muscle is intoxicating. You watch the frantic, aggressive primate in front of you slowly realize that their weapons do not work here. Mastering this physical stillness gives you an impenetrable shield. But the ultimate goal of this strategy isn't just to play a character. It is to become something else entirely. Mastering the physical stillness of the void gives you an impenetrable shield in the heat of battle, but the ultimate goal of this strategy is not merely to play a character or perform a tactical trick. It is to become something else entirely. The final stage of this evolution is not about learning how to suppress your anger. It is about reaching a psychological state where the anger simply ceases to exist. If you spend your life gritting your teeth, pretending you do not care while your blood boils on the inside, you are not a master of power dynamics. You are just a victim with a very good poker face. That is merely endurance, and eventually, endurance always runs out. The pressure builds and you snap. You must evolve from acting unbothered to actually being unbothered. You must achieve a state of sovereign apathy. To reach this ultimate state of liberation, you must fundamentally devalue the opinions of the masses. Imagine moving through your daily life with a completely new lens. You watch the frantic, highly reactive behavior of the people around you. You see them losing their minds in rush hour traffic, tearing each other apart in social media comment sections, and destroying their own relationships over microscopic perceived slights. You begin to observe them not as peers, but as actors. You watch the drama, the manipulation, and the endless outrage as if you are sitting in the dark, velvet-lined balcony seat of an old theater, watching a very poorly written, tragic play unfold below. You are in the building, but you are absolutely not on the stage. You are untouched by the friction of their egos. You can see the strings attached to their limbs, pulling them in every direction. Why would you ever allow one of these actors to dictate your emotional state? You must ask yourself a brutal, unflinching question. Why do I care what this person thinks of me? The vast majority of the people you interact with do not have control over their own minds. They are sleepwalking through their existence. They are slaves to their impulses, entirely reactive to whatever cheap dopamine or manufactured outrage is placed in front of them by the algorithm, the news cycle, or their own unexamined traumas. Their minds are not rational instruments. They are malfunctioning machinery. You do not demand an apology from a broken ATM that eats your card. You do not passionately explain your hurt feelings to a dog when it barks at you through a chain-link fence. You recognize the fundamental nature of the entity, and you adjust your expectations accordingly. When you truly internalize how flawed, how chaotic, and how utterly lost most people are, their insults lose all their gravitational pull. You no longer ignore them to subtly manipulate them or to win an argument. You ignore them because their words literally hold zero currency in your reality. The moment you explain, you step into their cage. Why would you ever choose to walk into the cage of a person who cannot even govern their own habits? You refuse to submit your life for their review because you recognize that their high court is an absolute illusion. They are entirely unqualified to judge you. Their gavel is made of plastic, and their courtroom is a theater of the absurd. Think about the sheer, staggering volume of energy you have wasted in your life, arguing with people who were entirely committed to misunderstanding you. Think about the hours you have lost pacing in your room, replaying conversations in your head, dreaming up the perfect, devastating comeback that you wish you had said. Think about the psychological wounds you have carefully nursed, inflicted by people who do not even matter to your long-term future. You have been bleeding for ghosts. You have allowed psychological vampires to drain the focus that rightfully belongs to your own life. Imagine reclaiming every single drop of that wasted energy. Imagine what you could build, what kind of empire you could construct, and who you could become if you took all the hyper-focused attention you used to spend on defending yourself and redirected it entirely toward your own ascent. Tomorrow morning, when you walk out your front door, the world will test you. It always does. Someone will try to pull your strings. A colleague will drop a condescending remark. A relative will question your path. A stranger will try to drag you into their manufactured chaos. They will throw out the bait. They will aggressively demand that you take the stand and justify your existence. Do not flinch. Let their noise break against your absolute silence. Let their aggression drown in your lethal apathy. Look at them with the cold, clinical detachment of someone who knows exactly how the game is played. You do not owe the world your reaction. You owe yourself your peace. In a society addicted to noise and outrage, the individual who refuses to react is the individual who quietly rules them all. YouTube naturally suppresses the uncomfortable realities of human nature. They want you compliant, reactive, and easily advertised to. They are terrified of the 1% who see the game for what it is, and they algorithmically bury content that teaches you how to step off the stage. I refuse to sanitize this knowledge, but I cannot fight the machine alone. If you are ready to stop bleeding for ghosts and want to master the unspoken laws of power, click the link in the description. Join our private community on Patreon. Unlock the raw, unfiltered psychological blueprints they will not let me publish here. Let the masses stay asleep in their comfortable illusions. We have real work to do.